Andrew and I have been together for 10 years and married for 4. He is Christian, and I completely reject the idea of there being a conscious God that controls things, much less that Jesus had a divine connection to God. I do have a certain spirituality. I believe that there is a push and a pull of things like gravity and nature versus nurture, and that we are all connected by energy, kind of like Buddhism, but without the structure of it all. I believe that life and nature are intensely savage, strong, fragile, and beautiful at the same time, and it's each individual's choice to follow whichever path they desire. I also believe that it isn't our job to figure out what is on the other side of death. We will all find out someday, and until then, to just love and appreciate the life we have. I don't follow a church or teachings. It's just what I've built in my heart as I've gone through life, and I genuinely feel peace. When we first started dating, my husband just didn't talk about his beliefs. We saw his family here and there, but there were only a few clues that they believed in God as strongly as they do. My husband has been struggling with his mental health for a few years, and I think part of the struggle has been not feeling connected to God. The first time we went to church ourselves was maybe 3 years ago, and I forced him because his depression was unbearable. I've always been supportive of him going to church. He just never went. I'll go with him whenever he wants. I just personally don't believe in it. My only requests are that my beliefs are respected and that I'm not looked down on for not believing in the truth, and that our future children are given an opportunity to follow whatever belief system they want. We don't have kids yet, mostly because our marriage has been on the rocks for many years, purely because he was very depressed and disconnected. I tried to leave him this past November, but he sort of woke up that he was going to lose me and devoted himself to loving me. I moved to my hometown, and he moved in with me about 2 months ago. We have been through some very hard things, and it's brought us closer. He has thrown himself into the Bible and being a good husband, and I'm happy for him. Conversations around religion have always been uncomfortable. In all honesty, I think of all religions like beautiful nonfiction stories about how earlier civilizations created order. So for me, talking to a believer of Jesus is like talking to someone who thinks the Lord of the Rings really happened. I'm happy for that person and the peace they have found. For them, it's the truth, and I can respect that. But it is a little uncomfortable. I don't ever want to tell him that because I feel like it would tear him down, and I don't want to do that. In the past 6 months, Andrew has thrown himself into his faith. He reads the Bible every day. He goes to church every chance he gets. He listens to faith-based music and is watching faith-based movies. It is a little much for me, but I want him to be free in expressing whatever his feelings are. I'm hoping over time I can desensitize, and it won't be so uncomfortable for me. There are 2 very big problems I feel like we are facing. One, that he is missing out in life not having a partner where Jesus is in the middle. I'm never going to believe, and sometimes it feels like he thinks I'll realize the truth someday. It almost seems like there is this subconscious idea that if you think you have found peace without God, it's not real peace. I have a very hard-line moral code, so I always tell the truth and help people when I can. He has said on several occasions that I'm a better Christian than most Christians. I feel like he has struggled with the concept that he can't lead our family because I'm not following him in his faith. And for me to say that I believe in God is against my moral code because it would be a lie. I feel a little funny going to church because everyone we talk to is a believer, and more than likely assumes I am too, which is a lie. I've decided that I'll just shut my mouth, and if I'm ever directly asked, I'll tell the truth. I'm hoping for advice on how to help him feel at peace with me and my beliefs. 2, he has told me 100+ times that our children will have a choice in whatever they want to believe, and I've trusted that for 10 years. But we are planning on having kids in the next year, and with the shift in how much he participates in religion now, I feel like he is going to try to compete with me for our kids' faith. I don't want it to be a competition, but there are so many resources designed for children that the idea of choice will just fall off the plate. And I'm recognizing in myself right now that I'm just feeling very overpowered. His mom will be right behind them with a Bible, and I'm fine with it. But I know she thinks less of me because I'm not devoted to God. I'd love some advice and insight on raising children in a home where mom and dad don't believe the same thing. I'll end by saying that I was raised in a Catholic Jewish home where neither religion was taken seriously. I went to Wednesday school and was baptized and received confirmation. But even as a child, I've always just thought of the Bible as a collection of stories. My grandma was a devoted Catholic woman, but she would tell me this joke that really became the basis of how I think. A man named Jacob dies and goes to heaven. He meets St. Peter at the gates, and they go on a golf cart tour of heaven. First, they pass the Jews, and Peter says, "Wave to the Jews," and the Jews wave back. Then they pass the Buddhists, and Jacob waves to the Buddhists who wave back. Then Peter says, "You have to be quiet around the Catholics, because they think they are the only ones up here." My grandma was a baddie. I love my husband, and I've dedicated my life to this man. I know there is a center of peace for us. We just need to find it. Thank you for your help. PS comments were locked on my last attempt to post, so reposting. Please message me if comments don't work. Now for an update. We talked about it. I asked him to think of some ways he can show our kids he respects me and my beliefs, and he said he would think about it. I explained that I was feeling overpowered by the music and the movies, and he understood, because there is a lot of opportunity within the structure of Christianity to teach children, whereas I don't even have a name for what I believe. We went to church today twice this week and had a conversation about outreach within the church and how I feel like a liar when I'm in church, and I don't want to walk around telling people I don't believe. He doesn't expect me to go, but I want to be with him, to stand with him and show interest in things he finds important. So what do I do if someone asks? He said, "Tell the truth." I asked, "What do I say?" And he said, "Try looking into agnostic." I looked up the definition, and it really does fit better than anything else ever has. I said I didn't want to be a project for people trying to fix me. In more words than this, he said he would stand up for me. I've never felt so protected by him. I felt a full and total release of fear, and I cried and he hugged me. I know people judged my desire to have children with this man, but he is working so deeply on himself, and I can see it. He takes his faith seriously, and I can see it re-energizes him. The same way pole dancing does for me. We are just a very odd couple, I guess, and I'm proud of us. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your post reads like the introduction to a horror movie, OP. I am immediately wary of your husband and his mother introducing religious concepts to your future kids before they're old enough to grasp the nuance of different religions. His mother thinks less of you for having a differing faith. Is she going to be normal in any way about you trying to give her grandchildren options? Do you think your husband will push for religious schooling? Comment 2. So first off, it's absolutely madness to consider having children with this man. Honestly, it sounds like you two are basically roommates, and there isn't much of a marriage here. You two are majorly disconnected. You foolishly pushed him towards religion. Has he been seen by a doctor? A psychologist? Psychiatrist? Now, for the update. Thank you for all the support and advice on my last post. So, a lot has happened in the past month. Andrew and I have been trying to navigate our differences, and it's been a bit of very eventful. After our last conversation, I felt hopeful. He seemed to understand where I was coming from, and I felt like we were on the same page. But things took a turn when his mom came to visit. She stayed with us for a week, and it was intense. She brought up religion constantly, and it felt like she was trying to convert me. She even left Bible verses around the house, which made me uncomfortable. I tried to talk to Andrew about it, but he was caught in the middle. He didn't want to upset his mom, but he also didn't want me to feel disrespected. It was a tough spot for him, and I could see the stress it was causing. One evening after his mom had gone to bed, we had a long talk. I told him how I felt, and he admitted that he was struggling too. He wanted to make his mom happy, but he also wanted to respect my beliefs. It was a difficult conversation, but it was necessary. We decided that we needed to set some boundaries with his mom. The next morning, Andrew talked to her, and it was a bit of a showdown. She was upset, but he stood his ground. It was the first time I saw him really stand up for me, and it meant a lot, but the challenges didn't stop there. A week after his mom left, Andrew came home with a surprise. He had signed us up for a couples retreat at our church. I was taken aback. He said it would be good for us, a way to strengthen our relationship. I was hesitant, but I agreed to go. The retreat was a mix of emotions. There were moments when I felt out of place, but there were also moments when I felt connected to Andrew in a way I hadn't in a long time. We had deep conversations, and I could see how much his faith meant to him. It was eye-opening. However, the retreat also brought up some tough questions about our future. During one of the sessions, the topic of raising children came up. Andrew shared his desire to raise our future kids in the church, and I felt a pang of anxiety. I knew this was going to be a major issue for us. After the session, we talked about it, and it was clear that we had different visions for our children's upbringing. He wanted them to be part of the church community, while I wanted them to have the freedom to choose their own path. This led to a heated argument. I felt like he was going back on his promise to give our kids a choice. He felt like I was dismissing his beliefs. It was a tough conversation, and it left us both feeling hurt and confused. We decided to take a step back and think about what we really wanted for our future. In the midst of all this, I had a conversation with my best friend, who has been a rock for me. She reminded me of a time in college when I was struggling with my own beliefs. I had taken a philosophy class that challenged everything I thought I knew. It was a difficult time, but it also helped me shape my own spirituality. She reminded me that it's okay to have doubts and that it's important to stay true to myself. This conversation gave me some clarity and helped me see things from a different perspective. As the month went on, Andrew and I continued to have these tough conversations. We talked about our fears, our hopes, and our dreams. We realized that we both wanted the same thing, a happy, healthy family. But we also knew that we had to find a way to respect each other's beliefs. It wasn't going to be easy, but we were committed to making it work. One evening, we sat down and made a list of things that were important to us. For Andrew, it was important that our kids were exposed to his faith. For me, it was important that they had the freedom to explore different beliefs. We decided that we would expose our kids to both of our beliefs and let them make their own choices. It was a compromise, but it felt right. We also decided to set some boundaries with our families. We agreed that we would not let anyone pressure us or our kids into believing something they didn't want to. It was a tough decision, but it was necessary for our peace of mind. As we navigated these challenges, I couldn't help but think about my own upbringing. My parents had always encouraged me to think for myself and make my own decisions. They never pressured me to follow a specific path, and I wanted to give my kids the same freedom. I shared this with Andrew, and he understood. He shared stories from his own childhood about how his faith had been a source of comfort and strength for him. It was a reminder that we both had different experiences, but we both wanted the best for our future family. In the end, we realized that our differences didn't have to tear us apart. They could actually make us stronger. We learned to communicate better, to listen to each other, and to respect each other's beliefs. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of tension, but we were committed to making it work. Thank you for reading. Aita for confronting my friend about her creepy boyfriend and causing a huge fight. My friend, let's call her Emma, 19 years old, has been with her current boyfriend Ryan, 19 years old, for nearly a year now. We weren't close friends at the time, so I never met him at the start of their relationship. But when we became closer, he started adding all of Emma's friends, including me, on social media. This is when the suggestions of a threesome started, with some very uncomfortable messages over various apps. Despite my clear fear and how uncomfortable I was, this continued to persist. At first, I thought it was a joke, until it kept happening. He even started asking some of my other friends, only once though, before he started asking me again. Emma knew how uncomfortable I was, but said nothing about it and to ignore him. But he was blowing up my phone 24/7, and my friends said not to block him to not cause drama. This kind of thing happened again when I went out with them one time. It was supposed to just be me and Emma, but he begged her to come. The whole time I was super scared because he kept on suggesting a threesome and that we go back to her house. Emma kept saying no, which I echoed, but he persisted. Alongside that, the whole time we were out, he was making derogatory comments towards some girls that I'm not the friendliest with, and got upset when I defended them. I don't feel safe around him, and neither does any of the friend group. He has also done some weird actions toward them, which I would count as attack. On a night out, which I was not present at, he grabbed my friend's butt and started hugging her and put his hands on her butt again, then passed it off as he was drunk, leading everyone to not want to be around him. And Emma just enables it and passes it off as he's just weird. I know I probably seem stupid, but I saw him in public the other day, and I was genuinely scared. Emma wasn't there, and I literally nearly ran to avoid him. Without her there, it's genuinely scary because I know she isn't there to stop him from doing anything. There are so many other instances of him being weird towards my friends as well when Emma wasn't around. But that's not my story to tell, and I don't want to even write some of this stuff. Almost forgot. The advice I need is, how do I bring this up to Emma and not cause her to isolate herself because her friends are scared and hate her boyfriend? I know it may seem odd to people that I still want to be her friend despite her enabling his weird actions, but I just don't want to leave her with him and have no one else to talk to. If I block him on social media, she'll come to me about it and be upset with me, and I don't want to cause any arguments, but at this point, I don't see any other option. Is there any way to resolve this without getting her mad at me and also get him to leave me and my friends alone? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, he's not being weird. He's repeatedly sexually harassing and sexually assaulting you and your friends. He is not safe. Emma is not safe, for herself and for her enabling him. You shouldn't be around either of them, and you should tell anyone who asks that he's repeatedly sexually harassed you and your friends. I'm sorry this is happening. You're scared of him because he's dangerous, and that's totally normal. Comment 2. Thank you for your advice. It's honestly a relief to hear that other people think he's not just weird, but someone who does harass and attack people. I've never wanted to label him as that, as everyone in my group usually doesn't want to stir anything. But I'm going to take your advice and do what's needed for myself, even if it does mean losing a friend. Thank you. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post. 3 months ago, I finally decided to confront Emma about Ryan. I couldn't take it anymore. I sat her down and told her everything. How uncomfortable he made me, and our friends, the constant harassment, and the fear we all felt around him. Emma was defensive at first, saying that Ryan was just misunderstood and that he didn't mean any harm. But I stood my ground and told her that his behavior was unacceptable and that it was affecting our friendship. Emma didn't take it well. She accused me of trying to sabotage our relationship and said that I was overreacting. We had a huge argument, and she stormed out. I felt terrible, but I knew I had done the right thing. I couldn't let Ryan's behavior continue without saying anything. A few days later, Emma reached out to me. She apologized for her reaction and said that she had talked to Ryan about his behavior. He had promised to change, and she wanted to give him another chance. I was skeptical, but I agreed to give him the benefit of the doubt. For a while, things seemed to get better. Ryan stopped messaging me and my friends, and he seemed to be making an effort to be more respectful. But it didn't last. One night, we all went out to a party, and Ryan got drunk. He started making inappropriate comments again and tried to grope one of our friends. Emma was furious and dragged him out of the party. She apologized to all of us and said that she was done with him. The next day, Emma broke up with Ryan. She told me that she couldn't be with someone who disrespected her friends and made them feel unsafe. I was relieved, but I could see that Emma was heartbroken. She had really cared about Ryan, and it was hard for her to let go. In the weeks that followed, Emma leaned on me and our friends for support. We spent a lot of time together, trying to help her move on. She started to see a therapist to work through her feelings and to understand why she had stayed with Ryan for so long. It was a tough process, but Emma was determined to heal. During this time, I learned a lot about Emma's past. She opened up to me about her previous relationships and how she had always struggled with self-esteem. She told me about her parents' divorce and how it had affected her trust in people. Emma had always felt like she needed to be in a relationship to feel valued, and that's why she had put up with Ryan's behavior for so long. One night, Emma and I were talking, and she told me about an incident from her childhood that had shaped her views on relationships. When she was 10, her father had left her mother for another woman. Emma had been devastated and had blamed herself for the breakup. She had always felt like she wasn't good enough, and that feeling had carried over into her adult relationships. It was a heartbreaking revelation, but it helped me understand why Emma had stayed with Ryan despite everything. As Emma continued to work on herself, she started to change. She became more confident and assertive. She set boundaries with people and didn't let anyone treat her poorly. It was amazing to see her transformation, and I was so proud of her. But then, something unexpected happened. Ryan reached out to Emma, asking for another chance. He claimed that he had changed, and that he wanted to make things right. Emma was torn. She still had feelings for him, but she didn't want to go back to the way things were. She asked me for advice, and I told her to trust her instincts. Emma decided to meet with Ryan to hear him out. They had a long conversation, and Ryan apologized for everything he had done. He admitted that he had been wrong and that he wanted to be a better person. Emma was skeptical, but she agreed to give him a chance to prove himself. Over the next few weeks, Ryan made a genuine effort to change. He started going to therapy and working on his issues. He apologized to me and our friends and promised to respect our boundaries. It was a slow process, but we could see that he was trying. Emma and Ryan decided to take things slow and to rebuild their relationship from the ground up. They set clear boundaries and communicated openly about their feelings. It wasn't easy, but they were both committed to making it work. In the end, Emma and Ryan's relationship became stronger than ever. They both grew as individuals and learned to respect each other and their friends. It was a long and difficult journey, but it had a positive outcome. Thank you for reading. For Aita for cutting off. My best friend after she kept body shaming me. Despite my support, I, 17-year-old female, am a smaller girl than my friend, who is also 17 years old. I've noticed that she keeps making digs at me. I'm not new to this behavior. In middle school, I was also the smallest of my friends, and unfortunately, they were insecure about it. The way they found to relieve that was by shaming me for being flat and having no curves. I ditched them once I got to high school. My current best friend is someone I made during freshman year. Everything has been fine up until this year. I noticed her saying things like wanting to lose weight and stuff like that. I encouraged her while also telling her that she looks great and is pretty regardless. I like complimenting my friends. I have no problem with it. However, one day, we were hanging out at her house with another friend. That's when the first joke about me having small breasts came up. I said, "That's not funny," in a playful, stern mix, because I don't really like confrontation and didn't want to make a big deal out of it. My other friend confirms that she thinks it is funny, and they both laugh while I'm clearly not laughing. Nothing happened until the next time we were at her house. She makes another comment, except this time, it's not even said within a joke. She just says something along the lines of them all having big breasts, then goes, "Well, except," as she stares at me, and they laugh. Except for my other two friends who say, "That's messed up," but in a jokey, not too serious way. Then we were out shopping for clothes, and I find something that I like and make an offhand comment about not being sure it will fit me. She remarks almost under her breath, "Must be tough being so tiny," in a very sarcastic way. I just keep looking at the skirt like I didn't hear anything. Honestly, in middle school, when my old friends did this to me, it made me pretty depressed and insecure about myself. It's part of the reason I'm even bothered by those types of comments. I've been to a lot of therapy, luckily, and more than make me feel bad about myself, those comments just make me disappointed in my friend because I thought she was a better person than that and sad because I feel like I'm in the process of losing a friend. I've never said anything mean towards her and have always put in the effort to compliment her and boost her confidence. I will admit that it's been hard to do that right after her comments about me. The thing I'm most disappointed and hurt about is that I've told this friend about my middle school friends' bullies and how they created insecurities in me. And she's disregarding that and going down the same road. I understand that she's insecure about the way she looks, but we all are. And I don't think her pain is any excuse to cause pain to me. Despite everything, I still feel unsure about the situation. I've been trying to find the right time to make it clear, if it wasn't clear enough already, that I don't appreciate those comments and see where it goes from there. What do you guys think? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think this is a thoughtful comment and couldn't say any better than simply talk to your friend directly one-on-one if she's receptive and you guys can move forward with a better renewed understanding, or if you're not, then you remain friends with her. Correction. I think this is a thoughtful comment and couldn't say any better than simply talking to your friend directly one-on-one. If she's receptive, you guys can move forward with a better renewed understanding. If not, then you can remain friends with her. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post. So, a lot has happened in the past 3 months. After my last post, I decided to confront my friend about her comments. I chose a quiet afternoon when we were both at her house. I told her how her remarks about my body made me feel, especially given my past experiences. She seemed taken aback and apologized, saying she didn't realize it was affecting me so much. I thought things would get better after that, but I was wrong. A few weeks later, we were at a party, and she made another comment about my size, this time in front of a larger group of friends. It was like she couldn't help herself. I felt humiliated and left the party early. The next day, she texted me, saying she was sorry and that she was just drunk. I didn't respond because I needed time to think. Around this time, I started hanging out more with my other friends, the ones who had said, "That's messed up," before. They were supportive and made me feel better about myself. One of them, let's call her A, even shared that she had gone through something similar with a different friend. It was comforting to know I wasn't alone. Then, something unexpected happened. We were all at a school event, and my friend who had been making the comments was there too. She seemed to be in a bad mood and was snapping at everyone. Later, I found out from A that my friend had been going through some family issues. Her parents were getting a divorce, and she was taking it really hard. It made me see her behavior in a new light, but it didn't excuse it. One day, A and I were talking, and she suggested that maybe my friend was projecting her insecurities onto me because she didn't know how to deal with her own problems. It made sense, but it didn't make the comments hurt any less. I decided to give my friend some space and focus on my own well-being. During this time, I also started seeing a new therapist. She helped me work through my feelings and gave me strategies to deal with my friend's behavior. One thing she suggested was setting clear boundaries. So, the next time my friend made a comment, I calmly told her that I wouldn't tolerate it anymore. She seemed surprised, but didn't say anything. A few days later, she texted me, asking if we could talk. We met up at a coffee shop, and she opened up about everything she was going through. She admitted that she'd been taking out her frustrations on me, and that she was really sorry. I could see that she was genuinely struggling, and I felt a mix of emotions. I was still hurt, but I also felt compassion for her. We decided to take a break from our friendship to give her time to sort out her issues, and for me to heal. It was a tough decision, but it felt like the right one. During this break, I focused on my hobbies and spent more time with A and my other supportive friends. I even joined a new club at school, which helped me meet new people and build my confidence. About a month into our break, I ran into my friend at a mutual friend's birthday party. We ended up talking, and she seemed to be doing better. She told me she had started seeing a therapist too and was working on her issues. We had a long conversation about our friendship and how we both wanted to move forward. It was a turning point for us. We decided to slowly rebuild our friendship with clear boundaries in place. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of tension, but we were both committed to making it work. Over time, I noticed a change in her behavior. She was more mindful of her words and seemed genuinely interested in my well-being. One day, while we were hanging out, she shared a story from her childhood that I had never heard before. She told me about how she had always felt overshadowed by her older sister, who was the perfect child in their parents' eyes. This had made her feel inadequate and insecure for most of her life. It was an aha moment for me, as I realized that her behavior towards me was rooted in her own deep-seated insecurities. As we continued to rebuild our friendship, I also learned more about myself. I realized that I had a tendency to avoid confrontation and let things slide, which wasn't healthy for me. With the help of my therapist, I worked on being more assertive and standing up for myself. Now, 3 months later, our friendship is in a much better place. We still have our ups and downs, but we're both more aware of our actions and how they affect each other. I've also become closer with A and my other friends, which has been a positive outcome of this whole situation. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.